Sponsored by rxcardclub.com. Get a free prescription drug card and save up to 85% on prescription drugs. rxcardclub.com. Roobs Observations Eagles embarrass themselves in Tampa vs Bucs. Roobs Observations Eagles embarrass themselves in Tampa vs Bucs originally appeared on NBC Sports Philadelphia. I looked down at my laptop midway through the second quarter and the Bucs had 255 yards and the Eagles had 0 yards. You really don't have to be much of a football expert to understand this is not good. In fact, it's impossibly, unbelievably, astonishingly bad. The Eagles didn't just lose a football game Sunday in Tampa 33-16, they embarrassed themselves. They were so thoroughly outplayed on both sides of the football it looked they hadn't practiced or prepared all week. And if that score looks remotely competitive, it was 21-0 a few plays into the second quarter and it was already over. Yeah, the Eagles were missing a bunch of really good players, but that's no excuse for the slop we saw out there Sunday, especially in the first half. They just seemed out of it. Yeah, it was hot. Yeah, it was their third road trip in 4 weeks, including a trip to Brazil and a Monday nighter. 1. Just when you were starting to feel good about the Eagles' defense, this happens. Just a complete breakdown in every phase of the game. Everything the Eagles did right a week earlier in New Orleans they did wrong Sunday in Tampa. Their tackling was horrifying. Just unbelievably bad. Missed tackles all over the place. Maybe 20 of them? Is there a record for that? Guys were out of position all over the field. Once again they didn't get any takeaways. They allowed big play after big play. They finally got a sack from an edge for the first time in 8 games, then immediately gave the ball back to the Bucs on a special teams turnover. They were down 24-0 halfway through the first half and that ball game. The rest was just a matter of determining the final score. The Bucs had 219 yards 3.5 minutes into the second quarter. The Saints last week had 219 yards the entire game. This was like something out of the Matt Patricia playbook. They looked unprepared, unmotivated and incompetent. You never want to question effort, but for most of that first half it was like the Bucs were playing against air. 9 of their first 28 plays went for 13 yards or more. It got a little better. But not much. I don't care who you're playing, if you're not mentally and physically prepared, this is what happens. 2. And then there's the offense, and as wretched as the defense was in the first half, the offense may have actually been worse. Their first 3 drives netted -5 scrimmage yards, or -10 if you want to include penalty yards. I believe Kellen Moore did a nice job as play caller the first few weeks, but this was an offensive catastrophe. And missing a bunch of starters, including maybe their 3 best offensive players, is no excuse for this level of, I don't know, lethargy. There is no excuse for having a negative yardage total while the other team has already scored 4 times.